Here's a sign of the times.
I've been trying to think of a larger, overarching statement that I need to make about this, but really, more than anything, just want everybody to see that this is a thing that's happening. So we went out to California to gather interviews for the upcoming project we're working on, and we decided to go through Silicon Valley to get some B-roll, only to pull up outside Facebook's One Hacker Way and find an entire line of people lined up waiting for their chance to get their very own selfie with the Facebook sign.
We came here to get a picture of this sign for B-roll, and it turns out people come here and they line up to take selfies with the Facebook sign, like en masse. I didn't realize that it was a whole thing, but it's a whole thing that people do. There's the line.
That's a thing. That's a thing now. There's not anything else to do at Facebook if you go there. It's not like there's a museum there of the history of social media and how DARPA's Total Information Awareness Project really freaked people out, so they had to flip the script and do it in some other way that would get us to all voluntarily give up all of our data and information be spied upon. But
yeah, they don't let you take a tour or come inside the buildings, but they got the plebs outside. And it's just very telling to what the whole thing is.
it's basically just a parking lot. One of the most secured parking lots I've pretty much ever seen. There's crossing/security guards all up and down the street. There are light poles in that parking lot that have so much surveillance technology on them. I don't even know what all that stuff is. But there's nowhere for people to really go other than to park so they can walk over to the sign and have their picture taken. And that's been done so much now, in fact, that there's a path worn into the ground through the trees that Facebook might as well just pave it, because I don't think grass is probably ever going to grow there again. That's how many people continuously are going just so they can stand in line to have their picture taken with the sign. We'd actually driven through there once before at I don't know, I think we arrived at maybe 1 o'clock in the morning and saw people doing that, taking selfies with the sign. We thought it was just a fluke. But it turns out this is just going on 24 hours a day. People are just going to Facebook so they can make this pilgrimage to this place and have their picture taken. And I just think it's a statement on our postmodern society that this is what people are doing.
Yeah, I mean, basically, these are the new institutions, social media. And yeah, people still visit Washington, D.C. and other Capitol buildings and pay homage to those places. And, you know, at least there, even though it's a bunch of BS too, you can go in and you can potentially meet with your representative, and theoretically you could tell them your concerns. I mean, it's pretty trite and pretty thin.
Wow, this is the Treasury Department. What happens here?
You know, inside the way that the government works, this is the rubber stamp department, and they get papers from right across the street here, and from
here?
other friends.
Here at Bank of America, that's
they
right
walk it
across
the street, and then they rubber stamp it.
And really, most people just go look at the buildings and snap a few photos. But here in California and Silicon Valley, there is no system of accountability. There's no input process. It's just cold facades where the magic happens inside. But now a lot of people are basically making many pilgrimages. I think you use that word properly. And like, hey, cool, thumbs up, I'm on this social media platform. And they're just going kind of in an organic fashion to line up outside of it. Come to find out, it's now a major tourism site, even though tourists are not invited. There's nowhere to tour. They expect people to pose in front of the sign. And that's, you know, that's very descriptive of the system we have. It's a bunch of posers putting on their good face for social media with no regard to what really goes on inside and with no regard to what the system really is.
There was even a guy in line with his, I guess, parents and family, his mom. I think that's probably I don't know if it's his mom, but he's picking things off of her face so that she'll look good for her picture. It's just so surreal and bizarre to see that level of reverence for what's essentially a control system. This would be like if everyone lined up outside of the place where the they live signal's being broadcast so they could have their picture taken with it or something. This is the society we have in the postmodern world. We don't have we everything's been stripped down spiritually and culturally to the point where the masses don't have things like rites of passage or spiritual journeys or anything. But this now, I guess, is like your modern. This would be your modern version, I guess, of a spiritual pilgrimage.
Yeah, it's very apropos. They've admitted that these systems spy on people. The whole revenue generation system behind these free services is based on data harvesting and data leveraging,
Surveillance
selling
capitalism.
of data. And when you pull up in this parking lot as a quasi uninvited guest, there's obviously devices in the parking lot that are surely gathering data on everyone that passes through there. But, you know, it's a detailed surveillance system for the surveillance era, for the surveillance social media era where we're all sheep. And I think one of the major clues to that is when you walk over to the Facebook sign and, you see the line and possibly wait in the line to take your selfie. If you look really closely, and I think most people miss this, honestly, I probably would have missed it too if I hadn't read about it. Behind the Facebook billboard sign is another sign, which is for Sun Microsystems, which used to occupy the building, which used to be one of the major institutions of Silicon Valley before Facebook was even really around, or at least before it was the giant that it now is. And so on the back of that sign is this archaic, super ancient, 10 or 15 years old sign for Sun Microsystems that's apparently been abandoned as Facebook has replaced it. Of course, they're major figures in the buildup of the computer industry, the microchips that power everything, and just the system as it is. And it's interesting to note that Bill Joy, who was the CEO and founder of Sun Microsystems, was the one who was talking to Ray Kurzweil about how this age is going to be the age of people being pets. They were responding to the Unabomber manifesto and controversy and basically acknowledging, yeah, that's where it's headed. People are either going to be supplanted and replaced and merged with technology, or they'll be basically happy pets. And we can hope to be happy pets, right? I mean, that's the sort of hidden symbolism, twilight language embedded in the Facebook thumbs up sign that all the sheeple are lining up to take selfies in front of. Behind it, underneath that, is this older part of the system that's been built upon. And frankly, I think we're looking at a system where all these separate companies are really part of one company. That's what this system has been built upon. Not only the actual company and the making of the computer chips, but the recognition that that's the relationship of power between the people who will be using the system and the system itself that's being built up.
It's not like Facebook had to use the Sun Microsystems old sign to make their new sign. They're making a whole statement with that about the understructure and the growing infrastructure of this entire system. That's why they kept it that way, quite obviously.
You don't think that was a way to save a little money? And just by the way, when we walked back to our car, we did see someone coming out of the building who looked like a computer programmer or IT person or whatever. And just so happened that he was wearing a Sun Microsystems shirt. I don't know if they're still operating in there or if it's just Facebook. I really don't know. But he was wearing that shirt.
Ironic.
Don't you think?
I just can't believe this is the level. It's 2020, and this is the level we're at. Just find it incredibly hard to believe, even though there it is.
Yeah, I mean, as you were explaining, this is the new religious pilgrimage. Real religion has basically been displaced, and people are not seeking out meaningful places where there's a deep vested sense of purpose and a deep meaning for individuals and people in the system. They're going to basically the most superficial place on earth and posing. I guess that's the depth of our new pilgrimage. We can go and pose next to a system that gives us 0.01% of an ounce of meaning within it. We're just little mini vessels of transient purpose. We're just little cogs, just pets. I guess we're going to go celebrate that and worship that and give it a big thumbs up while wealth accumulates and power accumulates in a system that pretends to be open and transparent, pretends to promote free conversation and free speech, but does everything it can in the background to skew the algorithms, to silence dissenting voices, and to put people in an economic situation where if they don't
Toe the
obey
line.
and toe the line and pay homage to that system, then they're heavily punished. It's really creepy when you get right down to it. What'd you say? It's like people going to give a thumbs up at the They Live Signal Depot.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
yeah, basically, you got it. This is a bad power relationship, and it's bad enough what's going on in Washington, D.C., and our political institutions that are broken and corrupt and care nothing about the people. But at least there's the vestige of recognizing the importance of individuals and the democratic republic principle and the constitutional principles. At least the idea of that is still revered in Washington, even though the actual system's broken. Silicon Valley has a different system altogether. And the fact that people are going there to worship it and revere it is ultimately very troubling. I mean, sure, go take your picture. It's not a big deal. But if you want to think about what that actually represents and look at the sign behind the sign, you know.
That'd be like being an actual sheep and then going to a wolf den to have your picture taken outside of it. Any moment you could be eaten. Like you don't even realize the deeper significance of what you're doing. I don't know.
How many people come do this all day?
Not sure, sadly.
It's creepy. And yeah, like I was reading that more and more of these Silicon Valley institutions are becoming major tourism spots, even though they're not inviting people in. There's no place to tour. There's no museum or guided tour of like
Gift shop.
Zuckerberg once was in this room or whatever. You know, people are just on the outside of it looking
They would
in.
go to that if they had that. That guy was picking things off of his mother's face in public in front of everyone so that she looked good. And I don't know, something about that image alone. Just, I won't ever forget that I saw that once. That is just mind blowing to me.
You know what they're going to do with those pictures?
Put them on Facebook.
New profile pic. Thumbs up at the thumbs up. It's a recursive thumbs up.